Hello guys, once again welcome back to another Android application development tutorial. We all know about how to start an activity using startActivity method, but in some situation we want to start an activity and we expect some result back from it. In such situation we can start an activity using startActivityForResult. So here in this video, I am going to create an Android application that demonstrate how to get a result from an activity by using startActivityForResult method. So we can begin with a new Android Studio project. Here I name the project as activity example. So here our project is ready in Android Studio. So in this project, here I need an additional activity. So here I'm going to start a new activity. Select an empty activity. Here I name it as message activity. Now here I'm going to add the user interface for the newly created activity. So here I create the user interface for the newly created activity. Here I place an edit text and a button. So here I'm going to modify the ID for the edit text. Here I name it as txt message. Now here I'm going to specify an on-click method for the button. Here I name it as send message. Now go to the XML file. So now we need to implement this method inside the newly created activity class file. So here I implement that method. Okay. Now go back to the main activity. Here also we need to add some user interface. So here I create the user interface for the main activity. Here I add a text view and a button. So I select the text view and here I modify the ID of the text view into txt display message. Okay, now select the button and specify an on-click method for the button. I name it as get message. Now go back to the XML file. We need to implement this method inside our activity class. So here we implement that method. So now we are going to start the message activity with this method startActivityForResult. So we need some message from the message activity. So first here I'm going to create some integer variable. Here I create an integer variable. It's a final variable. It is public static. Here I initialize that variable with the value 0, 1. So for starting a new activity, we need an indent. So here I create an indent object. New indent. First parameter is the context. Second parameter is the activity class name. Here it is message activity.class. So now the indent is ready. So here instead of startActivity, we are going to use startActivityForResult method. So I'm going to call that method startActivityForResult. For this method, you have to pass at least two parameters. First one is a request code. Sorry, first parameter is the indent object. So here I pass the indent object. Second parameter is a request code. The request code is for nothing. If there are multiple calls for startActivityForResult, in order to avoid the confusion, we can use the request code. By using the request code, we can identify the correct response from the child activity. So that is the purpose of the request code. So here I pass the request code. Here the variable is message request. So we start the activity using startActivityForResult. Now go back to the main activity. So from the main activity, here we have the button on-click method called send message. So first we have to get the message from the user. So for that, here I create some variables for edit text. initialize that variable. It is txt message. So first we can get the message from the user. So now we need to send back this message to the parent activity. So for that you can use a method called setResult. So here you have to specify two parameters. First one is the result code and second one is the data. So here we can attach the data to an indent object. So here I create an indent, return indent, new indent. Okay, so now I'm going to attach the message to this return indent. So return indent dot put extra. First specify the key for the data. Here I name it as message. Now specify the data. Here the data is message. Okay, so now we can send back the result to the parent activity. So we can use this method setResult. So you have to pass two parameters. First one is the result code and second one is the indent object. So if the child activity successfully process the request and if the response is okay, in that case we can pass the result code as a result okay. If the child activity failed to process the request, in such case we can pass the result cancelled. So here we can pass the, here the response is okay, so we can pass the result okay flag. So set the result. Here we can use this flag result okay. Now the second parameter is the indent. So here is the second parameter is indent. Here it is return indent. Okay, and finally we can finish this activity. So from this activity we successfully send the result to the parent activity. So here the parent activity is main activity. So if you start an activity using startActivityForResult, in order to get the response from the child activity, you need to override one method called onActivityResult. So this method has three parameters. First one is the request code. By using the request code we can identify the correct response from the child activity, and second one is the result code. If the result is okay, it will return a flag called the result okay. If the child activity failed to return back the result, in that case the value for result called may be result failed, sorry, result cancelled, and you can find the data from the indent object. So first we can identify this is the correct response. So we can check that one. So if message request equals request code, in that case we can check the second condition. If result code dot result code, it is also integer, is equal to result okay, in that case we can handle the result. So we can get the result from the child activity. String message equal to, so here we have an indent object. So from that indent we can get the data. So get extra, get string extra, and pass the key for it. Here it is message. Okay, so now we can display this message on a text view. So we need to create some variables for text view. I name it as txt display. So now we can initialize that text view. So txt display equal to find view by id, txt display message, and finally we can display the message using that text view. Txt display dot set the text and pass the message. So now we can start this. Now we can test this project. So here I am going to run the project. Okay, now the application available on this virtual device. So now here I am going to start the second activity. So from the second activity, here I am going to send some message. Now send that message. So now that message available inside the main activity. So this is how we start an activity using startActivityForResult method. I hope you understand the concepts. For getting more Android tutorial updates, please subscribe this channel now. Thank you for watching. See you in the next episode.